Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my 2026 goals and intentions. First of all, ignore what I'm wearing. It's comfortable and I'm really cold. This is going to be a combination of specific goals and then just general intentions that I want to apply to a lot of areas of my life. I thought I would film this video to give other people advice and ideas, and then also to ground myself. I know throughout the year it's going to be such a busy year. I'm going to want something to come back to just to recenter myself. There's going to be a lot of changes for me in 2026, and it is definitely going to be the busiest year of my life so far. We're already over halfway through January, which is so scary. Before I start, I want to say please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing all sorts of reading and writing content, a few vlogs here and there, and once I get some more time, I'm going to be doing some more academic and in-depth video essays. The first general tip I have for myself is consistency. I honestly think consistency is the key to everything in life. It is the only way that you will actually get things done and build new habits. These don't have to be very specific, but I need to have a minimum that I do every day or every week or every month. For example, if I'm feeling like I'm in a reading slump, I need to have a minimum of reading one chapter a day. Obviously, you can spare yourself 1 or 2 days if you're really busy or you're really not feeling it, but I think it's so important to be able to be consistent. I obviously want to be consistent with my reading, my writing, my studying. I think I've been the most consistent the last couple weeks with my reading. Last year I was in a really big slump. I think I read 16 books in total, and half of those were in December. And it's because I'm really annoying. I will go through bouts of like wanting to do so much reading or so much writing or so much studying in a week, and I will overdo it, and then I will slump for so long after. My reading I've been consistent in, like I've said. When I started the Bell Jar, I felt like I was gonna go into a reading slump, but I forced myself to read a chapter or two every day, and I felt very accomplished after that, and I got back into the reading groove. Being consistent is gonna be the #1 thing I'm prioritizing in 2026. I need to tattoo it into my eyeball. My second intention is using my phone and social media less. I can't be unrealistic and say that I'm never going to use my phone, or I'm going to reach a stage where I don't use social media at all, because that is unrealistic and I don't even think that that's super helpful. Last year during Ramadan, I spent a month without using my phone at all. I turned it off. And when I tell you guys, I had the best sleep of my life. I was so productive. I was so much happier. My mood was so much better. I was getting things done. I don't think we realize, me included, how much using our phones takes up time and drains us of energy and productivity and creativity. I need to be able to set times for myself where I don't pick up my phone as soon as I wake up, and I don't use my phone for an hour before bed at least. And then slowly, hopefully, that'll just naturally make me want to use my phone less or need to use it less. The next goal or intention I have for myself is reading slowly and purposefully, and then kind of similarly to that, researching what I'm reading and what I'm writing. So I know that this is maybe a rinsed goal that people apply for themselves, but when I say I want to read purposefully, I don't mean that I'm going to exaggerate that by saying I am only going to read 1 book a month and I'm going to delve into it completely. And if you do that, that is fine. But I know myself, and I can consume things and understand them well and research them and get into them without needing a very long time for it. When I say I want to read slowly and purposefully, I mean I want to be underlining my favorite sentences, and I want to be tabbing my book, and I want to be reading on my book as I'm actually reading it, and I want to research it a lot after, read all of the Goodreads reviews, not all of the Goodreads reviews, read a lot of reviews, articles, essays, author interviews. It'll really help me appreciate the book more. And as a writer and someone who's been writing a lot more, it has made me appreciate the effort that writers put into their books. And I know that I would want someone that's reading my book in the future to put as much research into it that I am now planning to put into the books I'm reading. And then same thing, I want to be writing very purposefully. I don't think I've mentioned this on my YouTube yet, but I am changing the book that I'm writing. I spent 3 years working on TVS, and I have decided now to leave that to the side and leave it as it is. It is a very personal book. I finished it and edited it a few times, and I realized that if I wanted to publish it, I would need to change it completely, and it would basically be a whole new book, and it would be better to just move on to another project. The one that I'm now working on, I'm still in the planning stage, but it is already so much more rich. I'm really excited for it, and one thing that I want to be doing is taking it slower and researching before I start writing. The main piece of advice that I used to see was just write your first draft, write until it's over, but I honestly don't think that's how it works best for me, and I think a lot of people can't do that to produce the best piece of work that they can. Obviously, no matter what you do, you're going to edit your book to infinity and beyond. Like, the final stage where you're publishing your book is going to be nowhere near the early stages of your book, but I think that it is still important to research and take your first draft slowly. I already feel a lot more confident in what I'm going to write, and I'm hoping to give myself a few months at least of really researching it in depth, reading books with similar themes to my book before I actually start writing. Earlier this year, I read Franny and Zooey by J.D. Salinger, and this took me 5 days to read, and I thought I read it in the perfect amount of time. I was underlining as I was reading it, and I think there's only 2 places in the book where I actually write my thoughts. I didn't force myself to over annotate because I do feel like that sometimes pulls me out of books, and it's definitely a very flowy book, so I'm glad I didn't go too in depth. Once I finished it, I took 2 days to really research it. I read a few Goodreads reviews and some other articles and essays on Franny and Zooey, and then I wrote my own review and printed it out and put it here on a slip at the end. Little spoiler for my January reading wrap up, but I gave Franny and Zooey 4 stars. I really liked it, and I think taking my time with reading it was what made it so special. I'm also currently reading 1984 by George Orwell, and I'm reading it at a steady pace, and again, I plan to research it a lot once I'm done. Obviously, with non-classics is a bit more difficult, but I still think like going into the fandoms and Reddit pages and forums and TikToks once you're done with the book is just going to really help you get into the world, even if it's not a book that's meant to be really analysed in depth. My Goodreads goal for this year is to read 50 books. I do think that I'm going to read more, but I don't want to place a high goal for myself from the beginning of the year. I have 30 books in my TBR that I'm hoping to finish before the summer, and then I'm already going to reread A Series of Unfortunate Events and Harry Potter and The Hunger Games in the summer, which will already bring me up to over 50 books, but we don't know what could happen. I might get into a really big reading slump before the summer and not finish my 30-book TBR. As part of those 50 books, I do want to read a non-fiction book or 2. I don't think I read any non-fiction books last year, but the year before I read 2, and I think it's good to read more academic books every once in a while, especially in the current climate that we're in. And it really does foster your intelligence and reading ability and vocabulary. Another reading and writing goal that I have is reading short stories and poetry alongside my books. I have a poetry book that I still haven't begun reading, and then I also have this huge 1,000-page book of all of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, I think. My sister got this for me on my birthday, and I have loved every Edgar Allan Poe poem or short story that I've read. He's one of my favorite poets, so I'm really excited to tackle this, but obviously I cannot just sit down and read it. I'm hoping to be reading this as intervals between reading my main books. I think it's really good to help you obviously not fall into a reading slump that I think can happen when you're just reading one piece of literature, but also it's not too big of a world that you're getting into with short stories or poetry that it will confuse you. For me personally, I cannot read more than one book at once. Similarly with writing, I want to be writing short stories while writing my main book. It's going to keep my mind going with the creative ideas, and it'll be a good outlet for practicing my writing. And again, all of this will just make sure that your mind and creativity is constantly consuming and creating new things. My next goal for 2026 is to journal when needed. This is kind of specific for me because usually when I start a new year, I start a new journal and I'm like, I am gonna journal every single day. And honestly, it's unrealistic because I have so many half-completed journals. Half is generous, actually. I did get quite ahead in one of my journals last year, but again, once I stopped that, I just didn't journal for the rest of the year. I think it's important for me to understand that I'm not going to be able to journal every day. If you can, then by all means. But for me, I think journaling when I'm really emotional, or if I have a lot of things coming up and I want to sort them out, or I have a lot of ideas and I have that desire to journal, then journal. I think it's so much more realistic without placing super high expectations for myself and then also just not completely abandoning it. Next thing I want to do, again, because it is such a busy year and I'm going to be very involved with my academics, is reconnecting with the things I love. Last year, I felt like I really disconnected with myself. Like I said, I was not reading much. I wasn't writing much either. I don't actually know what I did last year. I think about it and I don't know what I spent all day doing. This year, I really want to reconnect with even just the small silly things that I love, like Harry Potter, A Series of Unfortunate Events. Obviously, I want to be reading and writing a bunch, working on my social media, obviously. They're small things that I really love doing and I want to make sure to do that this year so I can have time for myself in the middle of such a hectic year. Not in the middle, in the midst of. Finally, the last goal that I have for myself is learning new hobbies and new things. I know a lot of people currently are talking about becoming disgustingly educated and researching something different every other week. For me, I just want to find a few things to really be researching and getting good at and honing my skills in throughout the year. I really want to learn to draw and paint properly. I have so many ideas for paintings and drawings. I'm just not that good. There's a painting I did like 2 weeks ago. It's not the best. It's definitely better than what I used to do a couple of years ago, and I want to keep practicing until I'm amazing. I also want to learn a new language. Right now, I think I'm definitely going to be learning Spanish, although the book I'm writing is set in France, so I might end up switching to French. Obviously, consistency is needed with that, but I'm really excited to just gain new skills this year without, again, setting over ambitious goals that I know I'm not going to meet, like learning something new every single week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this might have been a little bit all over the place, but I hope it gave you guys some ideas, and I hope if I watch it sometime throughout the year, it'll ground me. I hope we all have an amazing, productive year. As part of my consistency, obviously, I'm going to be consistently posting. I think I've been doing well the last couple weeks. So again, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.